Sequels are out. They should have called it The Shining 2.
Or put the number 2 in the word shining somewhere.
Shy-tuing.
Shatooning?
Shy-tuing. Shine-tuing.
They should have called it Still Shining.
Shine
That's
on.
perfect. Welcome to Funhaus, everybody. This week's episode is sponsored by Muggsy Jeans and Columbia College. Got my buds Elise and James Willems with me today.
Hello.
My name's Daniel. And so this week's topics on Funhaus, we're going to talk about Sonic's redesign, the Maclunkey conspiracy. There's a little bit of DC Cinematic Universe news, some announcements, and a big question, is James Dean back from the dead?
The answer is yes.
Apparently, which is kind of scary. But I think we'll just jump right into it with what it seems that everyone would probably want us to talk about this week, and that is that Sonic is back. Everybody.
Yeah.
There was a subreddit post just about this trailer, and people went a little wild.
On our subreddit?
On our subreddit.
Yeah.
Just, I guess, excited really to hear what you probably have to say about Sonic, because you're the biggest Sonic fan I know. I don't know, maybe Lawrence is the biggest Sonic fan I know.
Whatever.
I don't know.
He declined to be on this show. He said, fuck no.
James has his Sonic the Hedgehog 2 t-shirt from when he was like 10 years old.
It was a pre-order bonus.
Yeah, I may actually take
You
it
could
from
pre-order when
myself.
you were 10?
Yeah, absolutely I did. Yeah, of course, all those big games. Sonic 2 was a huge game. You kidding me?
That's when you could finally play as Tails?
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
I think that's why I liked it.
Tails appeared. There was no Tails before that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not even playable, just in the game.
Did he have a dark origin
Remember,
story?
they showed a silhouette. The magazine showed a silhouette that had the silhouette of Tails, and you're like, what is that?
What magazine?
It's probably GamePro. I mean, most of the
Sonic,
promo...
was it Sonic Magazine?
Yeah, most of the early promo for Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was like a silhouette of Tails, and you're like, what?
Sega Power. I don't know. I was a Super Nintendo kid. I always was very suspicious of Sega kids.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're the alternative ones, okay? we may not be the billionaires, but we're the ones who keep society moving.
Still costs as much.
I was going to say, is Sega more blue collar than Nintendo?
Absolutely.
So yeah, you know, there was a big hubbub when they released this trailer a couple months ago with maybe too realistic take on Sonic, where you could see his teeth and his calf muscles, and the internet went wild, freaked out, screaming masses or whatever, shrieking at the Paramount Studios and what's the guy's name, Jeff Fowler. And I think in a weird twist that doesn't really happen or hasn't happened, but I imagine will happen more often, is that the studio went and changed the movie after the fan outrage.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really think of that happening before this, but it may be just a sign of the times to come. But anyway, a couple months later, we get a newly designed, newly rendered Sonic the Hedgehog that might be a little more accurate to what everyone wanted.
Yeah, usually like what you're describing is something that it happens after the fact. So a movie or a game comes out, and then it bombs, and then the direction behind it says, we heard your complaints. For the next one, we're addressing them. Little to never are those addressed mid-production on something. Like, it's pretty bizarre.
Yeah, I think this is something that could be more commonplace running into the future, with studios showing us peeks and sneaks at our favorite characters.
They may
months ahead of time.
They may do it in a more measured way though, where it's very because they released a whole trailer, but maybe next time it would be just the concept art of him.
Testing it in the public eye beforehand.
I wonder if some of the reaction for this stuff is going to be to flip it the other way, where the studio go, we learned our lesson, thank you very much. So the next time we get something like this, well, one, they may not even go. This may have soured studios to unless this movie makes like $500 million or $1 billion or whatever. Like, it may have soured them and like, all right, we're not even going to touch this bottom shelf nerd culture stuff anymore.
Are you calling Sonic bottom shelf?
I mean, it is kind of like
Sonic's terrible.
Like, I love it, but part of what I love about it is it's always like Sega, this is the underdog system. Sonic is less than Mario. Like, there's they have way more games that are all way worse overall. Like, that's what I kind of love about Sonic. But I think they may be like, well, this isn't going to be worth it. Or what we're going to do is we're going to make the movie, and people are only going to see it when it's too late. So like the first trailer will be 2 weeks before the movie comes out. So that way they don't have to spend money to do it and fix it. And if it'll bomb, it'll bomb. And then at least this way, because honestly, there's a pretty good chance this Sonic movie with the new Sonic is going to come out and not do very well.
It might do the exact same that the other one would have done, to tell you the truth.
It might do the exact same, but they had to go and spend way more money to fix it all.
I guess that's my one hope, is that there aren't a bunch of animators in like Canada or something that had to work 200-hour weeks to re-render Sonic in 3 months? Is that how much it was delayed? I forget.
It was supposed to come out this last week. Supposed to come out last week.
So we could have already forgotten about Sonic.
It's coming out Valentine's Day.
Is it really?
Yeah, or around there.
Sweet date movie.
Yeah. I found out recently that the John Cena firefighter movie apparently had to... the reason it came out of nowhere is because it had to fill Sonic's spot. They swapped him. I was like, oh, John Cena, Sonic, it's all the things I care about are all dramatically tied together.
The content of this trailer is different.
Quite.
What did you guys think of it?
Well, yeah.
What?
Do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I mean, here's my feedback.
Just on the redesign in general.
It's just on the redesign?
Oh, I meant the actual like content
okay.
of what's happening in the trailer.
Yeah. I mean, this trailer is a better trailer for what appears to be a more exciting movie than the first trailer was. It still doesn't change my mind that it just seems like they took the character Sonic the Hedgehog and just inserted him into a template movie. Mm-hmm. Like, they have these templates, and it just seems like, and sometimes that works. Bumblebee is actually really good. I just don't know if this is all this cheering and celebrating the fact that now we have a Sonic that looks more like the video game character is gonna. It's not like people got into the streets and demanded they change the script to be something more true to Sonic the Hedgehog.
So that shot that we just saw of him running in the dryer, could old lanky Sonic have done that?
Would he have fit?
Would he have been able to jog? I think it may be right at the top of this, the clips of him in the basement or rec room, whatever.
So yeah, I guess
could that lanky one have fit in there? I don't know.
So I get, my understanding from watching the trailer like 1.5 times is that Sonic has come to our Earth because everyone on his world was trying to steal his powers, and he has magic rings that take him from universe to universe.
Something I'm wondering about too is because there's a shot of his world,
which is the coolest.
That's the coolest part of the trailer.
It's the coolest.
Green Hill Zone, right? Like it's a shot of it.
I want this.
I wonder what that looked like beforehand, because I guarantee you, there's no way this environment looked this way.
You think that's
I think they went back and they were like, oh shit. Before it was probably a different kind of alien world, and then they were like, oh shit. Well, all people want is how it looked in the game. And so they had to go back in and do the off-color cubing and make all that stuff.
They went to the dumpster and found the concept art that they'd thrown out previously.
Or something.
Well, a friend of mine found the Super Mario movie production Bible and stuff in the dumpster once. It's not a joke. He's got it all, and it's ridiculous. And that's another story for another time. I still think that for me, the fun version of this movie would have been kid gets transported into Sonic's world.
I'm kind of happy there's not a kid character. Personally,
the kid is a fox, and the fox is
at least with the.
That is cool, actually.
I didn't really like Detective Pikachu that much. I thought it was fine. I just didn't love it, but I still appreciated that they were like, this is a new, interesting world where Pokemon and human coexist, and it's not just this sort of, fish out of water story that it does feel like it could be any character, really. And
I think that Pokemon world building was my favorite part of that Pokemon film.
My hope for this is that it is Bumblebee. The best thing about it is it didn't try and rewrite the book on anything, right? It was just like a exactly by the numbers kind of E.T. whatever template movie you want to consider those, right? But it had a great lead actress, it had a good score, a good setting, and it seemed genuine. And those are the only things that you needed to make it end up being overall a good movie, despite the fact that it is a tropey movie. This This feels like it could be, but there's also so much like other identity that's injected into it that I think is just going to take things away from it. And also the idea of a like a young girl dealing with her young girl life, and then how that coincides with a transformer who is out of its own place. Like, that's kind of always been a Transformers story too. It's just this is a little bit more genuine than Sam Witwicky running around and then it getting like up its own ass at a certain point. None of this really has anything to do with Sonic. Like Sonic being like, I'm lost in New York City has never been an element of Sonic's story.
I mean, I excuse my Sonic ignorance,
Ask
but
me anything.
is there like a plot? Other than like Robotnik like captures animals or something?
The big thing about Sonic is he exists in that other world.
Right.
Where there's a bunch of characters and things sure are wacky, but the world is wacky and there's all kinds of different areas. Robotnik is always harassing the animals and he's the protector of the animals and stuff like that.
But is that the main conflict, that Robotnik's trying to capture animals?
He's capturing animals. He's also trying to get Chaos Emeralds. But I've never wondered what would it be like if Sonic met a dog, you know? Because it's just like, it seems like a weird thing.
Please.
No, I was going to say, if you did a movie where it's like, kid gets transported to Sonic World, Robotnik has like executed on some evil plan that has like imprisoned or sent Sonic's friends to different worlds. And the setup of the movie is like Sonic and Kid against all odds need to go and like free or find all the different, characters in his group. And then maybe there's even one character, like maybe there's like a shadow character that's like Sonic's like they're not buds, but like Sonic's like, come on, like we gotta go take on Robotnik, so he gets Shadow or whatever. And then the final is like all of them fighting Robotnik, but you have all these like mini boss sort of things where he's going and getting all these people and all this, is happening and the kids with him or whatever. That would be my thinking of what because then you can see different worlds, you can do it all, right?
You're not planning for the trilogy, Elise.
Maybe that's where they go next. I don't know.
I called it. There's the first trailer had that one end tag, Stinger or whatever, which was Jim Carrey, who looks like he gets blown up at the end of this movie and sent into Sonic's world. That's how it's going to end. He gets blown up, which causes him to get the bald-headed, wacky-haired Robotnik look. And then, but now he's in Sonic World, and he's like, ah! And then, the second one, they can follow up on it.
There was one joke I did like in the trailer, which was Jim Carrey's like evil henchman brings him a latte, and this part, I think. And then Jim Carrey shouts at him like, I love the way you make them. And it was a pretty like Jim Carrey-ish sort of moment, and I was like, I do like that.
The dancing around bit kind of the whole trailer seems so jokey. Like I understand trying to sell like humor in a film, but it really does just seem like there's 24 Sonic doing his own thing bits that are just interspersed in this movie in between what might be plot points.
Yeah.
Him.
So that's the end of the movie, or right near the end of the movie, because in his last-ditch effort to stop Sonic, he gets blown up by one of his own devices, which sends him through one of Sonic's rings back into Sonic's world, and the end result is him looking like our classic Robotnik. That's how the movie's going to end. But I just want the movie to start there.
It could start there.
That's where I want most movies to start, but I know that it costs more to do an entire computer animated movie where you're in Green Hill Zone and then you're
mushrooms.
in Spring Yard Zone and everything like that.
You can really actually see the green screen.
Like where all of that is happening, as opposed to filming it in Portland or whatever, like
Pacific
just
Northwest.
Vancouver probably.
Do you think there's a better place for Sonic to be? Do you see him in Texas, James?
I mean, in his world, this is where, so here's my perfect version. Doesn't even have a kid in it.
Same.
It's just him and his friends, and then there's a hero's journey aspect where he's got this magic, he's got this ability, but he doesn't really care about anyone more than himself and what he wants to do with his power and be cocky and everything, until Dr. Robotnik's plan actually touches his life and someone he cares about is taken, and then he goes back for it, but then it becomes part of a bigger journey, and then he ends up going up to the Death Egg is what it's called. Robotnik's
What's
big ship is the
Okay.
Death Egg, which looks
Clever
exactly like the
name.
Death Star, because everything in Sonic is just a trope stolen from something else. And then at the very end of the movie, he thinks he's going to be sacrificing his powers, but what he actually does is he takes in more power, becomes supersonic, and it's sweet and it's awesome. And then he becomes the protector of the land.
What's the difference between Sonic and Supersonic?
It's when he has all the Chaos Emeralds and then 50 rings, and then you jump twice in the air, and then he becomes invincible, and he goes so fast that he can fly.
Is there a place for Jim Carrey in the Sonic movie you're describing?
I mean, motion capture him into an animated character, I guess. I don't know.
So you would rather
Or
an
voice
animated,
act.
a more animated film.
I want it to be all that first shot of this trailer. That's what I want a whole Sonic movie to be, which I think goes back to my redesign. I know people are really happy with how it looks. Right now, I'm going to say,
I think they went a step too far. But
bold stance, it looks great when he is in his world. I don't think Sonic looks that good when it's him sitting next to James Marsden in a bar.
I think very similarly.
I don't think that they nailed. Detective Pikachu has an amazing look. They managed to figure out what that difference is to make it the character, but also make it make sense when, what was his name, Justice Smith or something.
That's it.
Justice Smith was walking around with Pikachu on his shoulder. It still felt like he was there. Pikachu was real in that world.
This just like takes a step to the cartooniness.
Yeah,
I think.
Sonic-
Like it's a few steps past where the nice middle ground was. I think.
And as ugly as that old Sonic was, he still seemed like he was in that world.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I could stand looking at that ugly Sonic, but I just think we're still going to run into this thing where that looks good on its own, but it doesn't look great in a lot of the shots in the trailer. I don't think most people care about that minutia, though. They just see it and they go, okay, well, I know that I can look at that. This is easier to look at than that one. By the way, he's got teeth.
He still has
Okay.
the teeth. They
He has the
put
teeth,
him
yeah.
a little further back.
He still has teeth now, but like his giant hands, his giant eyes, it really doesn't feel like he's sitting in that car.
Right. It feels like it's from another. It looks like it's from an animated film, like
Yeah.
a really well
Yes.
animated film, but it just doesn't fit in reality at all. And I realized the other Sonic was maybe too creepy and
I mean, it
real,
was nauseating.
and gross looking. But I feel like this is too far the other way, and it is, I think, what people wanted. The internet masses wanted it to look like the Sonic that they know and love. But I think similar to what you're saying, it just doesn't work when they're in a car together or when they're in the real world together. It's like a living cartoon. It is maybe too much like a Roger Rabbit, which
Well-
I know is a great film and they do the blending really neatly, but that's its own specific universe where cartoons exist.
I also think Roger Rabbit, like you can see the videos that go into great detail of all the stuff that they did with a camera and the actor to make it feel like he is within that world, even though he doesn't look like he belongs there. Roger Rabbit, I mean. Like all the lighting passes that they did and all the control that they had. This movie wasn't filmed that way. You know? It was filmed probably with the intention of having a more realistic looking Sonic that you would be like, okay, it makes sense that he's in that world. I just think the movie's going to only look really good when it's him running along the Great Wall of China or in his place when they're fully CG worlds.
When there's no humans or dogs.
There's nothing to compare it to because I don't know that looks great, but I don't care. I'm going to go see it. Who are we kidding? I'd have seen it already if I was able to.
You could have seen it last week if it wasn't for the internet.
By the way, that shot of him putting his hands down and looking up and everything, that is the same shot that was him on the desert road.
I think they changed a lot of this movie.
I think they got terrified and they're like, oh my God, we have to put more Sonic stuff in this movie, and so they went for it.
It just
We're like,
seems
yeah, how could Lanky one fit in the washing machine? He couldn't
couldn't, it wouldn't
have.
have
He
worked.
couldn't
Wouldn't have
have.
worked.
Sorry, Dan.
Have you
No.
have you seen the side by sides of like the lanky one and this one? It's pretty interesting because they had to figure out a way to make his eye, like his pupils, kind of land in the same spot.
Okay, for eyeline stuff.
Yeah. And it almost worked out because of how proportional the other one, how much the other one looked like a child. And but this one has a giant head, but it is really weird where it's like before his mouth was like 3/4 of the way up the frame and now it's like the bottom third just
Interesting.
because of his strange proportions. Yeah, I don't know. I am happy for everyone who is happy, but I think you may have picked a really weird battle in this one.
Yeah.
for everyone who is upset and now thinks that they've, I guess, quote unquote, won.
I have seen some, just, on Imgur or Reddit or wherever I'm reading, some people actually having the self-awareness to say, okay, now that we've made them change it, regardless of how good it is, we have to go see it. Like, they have that level of awareness to say, like, well, we asked for this. We made people go through a lot of work, so the onus is on us now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I hope they live up to that.
Yeah.
I have a feeling they won't. Most of those people just steal it when it comes out or watch it on Netflix.
There's a great It's Always Sunny episode this season where all of them are asked to do a survey on a new movie that's coming out, a sequel to like an action movie franchise that they really like. And they have so many, then they go in and they have a conversation with a representative about how they felt about the movie, and they just like ripping it to shreds, and they have all these issues with it, and they keep tearing it apart, except they also have no real concept of like what a good movie, like like what goes into making a movie, what it's theoretical that you could possibly change after the fact that a movie is made, and then spoiler, at the end they forget that the movie actually came out when it came out.
That's so perfect. Because I have to imagine 99% of the people complaining about this movie probably have no concept of how to make a movie or how to tell a story. They just wanted to yell about the way Sonic looked.
Mm-hmm.
Making films by committee is certainly not how we've ever gotten a good film.
Or by mob rule.
It's just not a way any good movie has probably ever been made.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you get a couple really smart people, extremely talented, and they'll make a really neat movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Not everyone. A lot of the reaction was, we've shown Hollywood that they can't, that we are a force to be reckoned with. But I think what you actually showed them is they're going to do a little bit more math next time before they determine what movie is actually worth ever getting to you in the first place.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the fact that a Sonic movie exists is pretty wild, and I don't think anyone expects it to be high art in any regard.
By the way, Hilltop. It's that sign said Hilltop Road.
What is Hilltop?
Hilltop Zone.
That was Green Hill Zone.
That's the first level.
Okay.
But Hilltop is in Sonic 2.
Does he play baseball in any of the games? I feel kind of bad. Like, he seems so lonely. He's doing all these things all by himself, like reading all the flashes and playing ping pong and baseball all by himself. He seems kind of sad.
But
I don't know. But then sorry to interrupt you, but in the movie he's talking about how happy he is.
Maybe everyone's always bothering him when he's in Sonic World.
I was going to say, but that would be a good theme if it was a movie just about Sonic in his own world. He's got this powers. He's crafted this life for himself, and
everyone's bothering him all the time to do Sonic stuff. And he doesn't want anything
to do with the people over there in Green Hill Zone. He's got his own place with his shit and everything, and then
just wants to read Flash comics.
It isn't until the little fox named Miles comes up to visit him, and he's kidnapped by Dr. Robotnik, that Sonic feels like he needs to get involved. Let's make the movie. Yeah.
All right. So I do think with the redesign, they could have gone with a slick pair of pants, maybe consulted Muggsy jeans on what Sonic would have looked like in pants. Surely no one would have been upset with that. But in case you guys don't know, Muggsy jeans are the most comfortable jeans ever made. Muggsy jeans are the most comfortable men's jeans ever made, and that's no exaggeration. Muggsy's are real jeans that literally feel as comfortable as sweatpants. The magic is in Muggsy's proprietary fabrics, which include a blend of high-tech materials that make these jeans mind-blowingly soft and flexible. Best of all, Muggsy's come in a stylish fit that's not too baggy, but not too tight, so you look even better than you feel. If you want comfortable jeans that look good, Muggsy jeans are for you. The guys at Muggsy are so confident you'll love them, they offer free USA shipping and returns, so your comfort is 100% guaranteed. Do your legs a favor, grab your own pair of the jeans that are sweeping the nation by heading to Muggsy.com. That's MUGSY.com, and use code FILMHOUSE for $10 off. So again, that's Muggsy.com, and use FILMHOUSE at checkout for $10 off. Muggsy.com, use the promo code FILMHOUSE at checkout. You'll get $10 off. I really love my Muggsy jeans. They're really sweet. And I think you might too if you like jeans at all. So thanks, Muggsy, for bringing us here this week to talk about Sonic. Yeah, so what else we got going this week? The big Maclunkey conspiracy. Old George is at it again.
I saw a tweet, the first kind of tweet that referenced this, and I thought it was a joke.
The Maclunkey thing? Or
someone
there's
made
like
a
an
tweet
Onion
and they were like,
headline.
now in this one, Greedo shouts Maclunkey before he gets shot. And I was like, aha, that's a funny joke because they're saying like, oh, now there's even another stupider version of Star Wars. And I watched it and I was like, wait, he said Maclunkey.
You did say Maclunkey, or something like Maclunkey.
But it's not subtitle. Everything else he says has a subtitle.
Well, that's because George changed it, but didn't know how to go and edit the subtitle file, probably.
Didn't tell anyone.
What does George changed it mean?
I wonder if every sub in that film is off by the amount of frames that new shot's in there. That would be curious to me.
Yeah, that's interesting to know.
No, I think one of the interesting things about this story is I'm not sure Disney knew this, that George changed it again before selling the films to Disney.
Well, but this is the first time we've seen Maclunkey, right?
Yeah, because Disney Plus. These are the newest 4K upgrades that are on Disney Plus, and I think there was a planned disc release that got
shelved.
Shelved because of Disney Plus.
Technically, this is the first time we've seen these versions
Yes.
of the movie.
So I'm curious if there's other stuff kind of hidden around. George's last second before cashing those huge checks, just adding weird shit into these movies.
I mean, Han and Greedo is what, 30 minutes into A New Hope? That means we're gonna find some stuff based on time. We're just early in.
I think these are like the ultimate Easter eggs.
My question: I'd love to know the motivation.
Yeah.
I'd love to know his motivation.
I think he's just fixated with the fact that he thinks Han shouldn't have shot first. Like, I wonder who said it to him. You think it was like Spielberg or someone after the movie was done, like whispered in his ears, like, by the way, having Han shoot first really screws his character up. And it's just been eating him up like inside for 40, 50 years. He's just thinking about this at night.
But Maclunkey seems like, okay, his first solution was, I'll have it be self-defense, and I'll use computers to do that. And he's like, perfect, I fixed it. And everyone's like, this looks terrible. It doesn't make any sense logically. How does he move his head that way? It doesn't make any sense. And so then instead of him going, you're right, it doesn't make any sense, we're just going to go back to the one version in which this made sense. But then he was like, well, what if I add Maclunkey? Say Greedo says something in his own language that translates roughly to, I'm a shoot. Or whatever, like I'm going to shoot you now.
Yeah.
Then it would make sense that Han would know to dodge, and that's how his reactions are so fast.
And then someone would have had to have recorded those lines. Who recorded them, and did they know at the time what they were recording those lines for, and in any context?
I really want to know who's credited as saying Maclunkey.
I mean, it could just be any garbage audio file that was lying around, right? Like from another take or something.
Those played backwards.
I don't know.
I just
so
think
funny.
This is what version of this is there? Because so the first change was Greedo shooting first, right? Then people got mad, and he changed it to both of them shooting each other at the same time. Mm-hmm. So this is the third change to that scene, I guess. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you guys, knowing Han Solo, do you think it's too cold-blooded to have him shoot first? Like, do you at least get maybe in his head somehow why this is something he's obsessing over? Like,
I don't know if I can comment to that because I haven't seen Solo, so I don't know the full depth of the Han Solo character.
You don't even know how he got his last name.
I don't, and I never will because I should watch that movie. Is it on Disney Plus yet?
Probably
on some other
It's on
stream.
Netflix.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as everyone claims it is.
I didn't think it was. I just wasn't like, oh, this seems exciting to me, but I think Han Solo's kind of he's to me, I never thought he was like the upstanding pinnacle of morality.
No, he was the definition of a rogue.
He was a dude, and so
cowboy.
Maybe not. All I can say is the Maclunkey's the new Coat Fifi.
What's interesting? Character arcs.
That's what it gives him.
No offense.
It's an arc.
No offense, but most people prefer Han Solo to Luke Skywalker for a reason.
Yeah.
It's because Luke Skywalker comes off as boring.
It's a choir boy.
He doesn't really have that much of an arc. He's a little maybe more jaded by the end of the franchise, but I think that's also just a wisdom, right? That's not an arc. That's just him seeing the world for what it is. He loses a hand. But Han Solo, I think, is everyone's favorite character because he starts out as something and he ends as something else.
Well, he's a human.
That's
Yeah.
what makes him great.
Luke's like a god or whatever.
Yeah, it's like
unrelated.
Vegeta.
Yeah.
At any minute, you might think he'll backhand Leia if she says something that upsets him.
But
She calls him a nerf herder again.
Yeah.
it's that that under the surface kind of thing that I think makes a character way more compelling. So, I mean, if he's really hung up on the fact that he murders this bounty hunter who did threaten him in the first place, right? Like, it makes him less cool to think that he's such a rogue, but he only kills in self-defense. Like, I find that hard to believe that you go from a scene where he kills a guy in self-defense and then these other people say, there's a very important thing that's happening, the whole state of the empire is at stake, and he goes, well, if you pay me a little bit more, maybe I'll take you. And you're like, wait, hold on. Or are you being a dick about this? You know, like, he's already in the morality garbage bin by this point, where he should be. It's lame.
Same. It gives him a place to start from and a place to go to.
Mm-hmm.
That serves a point in a story, and I don't know. I really want to know why this is so much in George's head that it needs to get changed 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I think he's fucking with us now.
Maybe so. Every
think
time it gets re-released, there's a new addition to that scene.
It's like Alan Moore. People always bring up this person's name, but I don't think that they actually care at all. Like Alan Moore's like, I just don't want it. I just don't want any part of this. Please stop ruining my flowers.
What's the opposite of that? I think George is obsessed with Star Wars.
I think George is just like, I'm just gonna fuck with him now, because I think everyone else in the world cares more about Star Wars than he does, and he kind of like, at a certain point you're like, all right, but I still hold the keys, you know. So enjoy this one. I would totally fuck with shit. If I ever when Sex Swing finally becomes that cult hit, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna add Maclunkeys everywhere.
Change the color of Spunky's shirt.
Yeah.
I think as it happens, I'm going to be our resident Jacob here today, but the Greedo scene didn't exist in any script, and I think maybe they had a nightmare situation with the original Jabba stuff, because Jabba was just like a big fat guy and it wasn't working, but they needed something to go there to serve the same point as that scene, so they created this Greedo scene. And I think he's actually in a scene following that. It's the same guy in the same suit, just in the background of a shot. So it makes very little sense. Unless that got Maclunkey too.
Is it the same kid from the prequels?
That's a good question.
Is that little Greedo? Did we ever establish that? I'm not an expert.
Do you think Maclunkey is going to be a verb now for like filmmakers going and fucking with their
Oh,
stuff?
actually, yeah, that would be great. That would be an excellent way for it to sort of, find its way into like vernacular. I'm down for that.
So I've actually got to deflate the whole conversation, because I think on internet Sherlock did figure out what Maclunkey is.
That's too bad.
You translated it into
there
Greenish or whatever.
Someone in Phantom Menace, Sebulba is talking to Anakin, and I'm not going to say the whole line because it's nonsense.
Can you please do? No.
Nik mi chawa, wormo mi kili Maclunkey.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Which translated in those subs was, next time we race boy, it will be the end of you. So people are thinking that the Maclunkey is the Maclunkey and maybe means something like I'll end you or something like that.
So they thought that it was going to be a thing where like people would make that connection. They know in the
people are gonna make
prequels.
that
They know in the prequels that Sebulba said that, and then
They should have subtitled it though if they wanted people to know what it meant. I think this could be a stretch, and this is just like some random internet people, so maybe it's bullshit. I don't know. I think sometimes things are better a mystery, you know.
I love
it's better
them.
that we don't know what Kafuki means.
I love Maclunkey. I love stuff like this.
I do like the idea that Greedo and Sebulba speak the same language. The Tatooine, whatever, desert language or something.
That makes very little sense, but
well,
okay.
I don't know how language works out there. Watched Mandalorian, first episode of Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
There's a guy that looks like a fish man.
Nice.
But he sounds like Paul Giamatti. I'm like, I don't know.
You guys are going to talk about it more, but I actually kind of dug it and dug the way it was paced.
Yeah, I think we'll do a deeper dive into Mandalorian next week.
Cool.
When resident Star Wars expert Jacob Fullerton and Star Wars kind of fan guy Adam can be here.
I am not a huge Star Wars person, and I do wish there was some type of like Star Wars school I could go to educate myself on the subject.
Disney Plus, Maclunkey.
We could get you a tutor.
Maybe I'll just go back to any school. Or like Columbia School.
Thanks for the segue, Elise.
Nice job.
Let me tell you guys a little bit more about our sponsor this week, Columbia College. With Truition at Columbia College, your education is one low price. There are no fees, no book costs, no surprises. Don't play games with getting your education. Truition lets you budget for the true cost of college. They've eliminated all fees, from application to graduation. They provide e-textbooks at no charge. With e-text, you can highlight important sections and add personal notes to the material. You can also convert e-text to audiobooks so that you can listen to content on the go. Truition is for all undergraduate and graduate students taking classes online or in the evening at any of their 30-plus locations. Columbia College was founded in 1851 and has been accredited for more than 100 years. 8-week classes are held year-round, so you can earn a degree quickly. Columbia College's mission is to improve lives by making college affordable. That's the truth. That's Truition. Apply today at mytruition.com/film. So apply today at mytruition.com/film. That's mytruition, TRUITION.com/film. And thanks for Columbia College. Thanks to Columbia College for bringing us here this week to talk about the Maclunkey. And sorry if I ruined it for everybody.
No,
I don't know if I should put a
in.
big spoiler in front of the Maclunkey.
Until we get those translations, official translations, I think it's all speculative.
I really want to know what else George hid in there. I don't think he can help himself.
I wish it had happened sooner so I could have been Maclunkey for Halloween. Whatever that costume is. I don't know.
Is it? I think it's just Greedo.
It's
No?
the concept.
It's
but
the-
you're
yeah.
dressed as the concept.
The idea of
Maclunkey.
Maclunkey.
Okay. You would be dressed as George Lucas with like a little editing
Yeah.
setup in front of him.
Is new Sonic technically Maclunkey?
Yes, it is.
Right? He is, right?
Sonic is Maclunkey.
Is that the title of the podcast? Sonic is Maclunkey. It's too SEO.
It's an after-the-fact change by the creator in response to fan backlash.
A real Maclunkey has no fan inspiration, though, I think.
It's the it's the auteur's inner
Can't leave it alone.
inner strife that the auteur has to reconcile with
Although-
themselves is Maclunkey.
I don't know. Maybe it depends if George did the Maclunkey based on people being upset that Greedo and
Well-
Han shot each other at the same time.
yeah.
And he's like, there needs to be another shot in there to
That's-
explain everything.
That's what I was presupposing was that that in George's mind, Maclunkey is the threat that cues Han into knowing that he's about to get shot, so that way when his CG head moves slightly to the left, it's not as jarring because he knew he was going to get shot.
So the entire Sonic redesign's a Maclunkey.
It's a soft Maclunkey.
Okay.
There's maybe soft and hard Maclunkeys. I think a hard Maclunkey is when it's the auteur, the person can't just leave it alone. They just have to keep coming back to it again and again.
I do really like your idea, Dan, that this should become like film jargon, like, you know, when you Greek a prop on set to get rid of a logo, like Maclunkey is now in the zeitgeist.
It's like jumping the shark.
It's like a form of fixing it in post.
Yeah.
I think we're onto something, guys. But the other people that are onto something this week are DC and Warner Brothers. Someone in the subreddit was out loud wondering, or maybe on the comment on the YouTube, wondering how often Warner Brothers tells us what to talk about on this show. I promise you, they have no idea.
I wish.
idea we even exist.
Yeah. I wish someone acknowledged us.
So if we're ever talking about Warner or HBO, so I promise you they don't know we exist, have never told us anything to talk about on this show.
If you aren't aware, though, yes, it is worth disclosing that
that-
Rooster Teeth is a property of Warner Brothers. It's a subsidiary
Of
or
Warner
whatever.
Media
So
now.
if you go far enough up the chain, our parent company is Warner Brothers, but
But
we've
yeah.
never gotten any sort of notes,
No.
as far as I am aware, on what the podcast can, should, or won't say.
Yeah.
I promise you they don't know who we are.
And we don't like censor our own opinions because of it either.
That being said, Warner, if you're watching,
Yeah.
you want to
We're for
send us
sale.
some
No.
videos, VHS.
Achievement Hunter got the Batman merchandise. Maybe we get the Aquaman.
Oh,
Please.
Maybe we do. Oh, you will never be Ocean Man.
maybe
Well-
Warner Brothers can send us back to school. Oh, we already
already
did that
did
one?
that.
Oh,
But if we could get Aquaman merchandise, maybe we'd get some Ocean Master tees, Elise.
I would love to.
This week, speaking with the Hollywood Reporter, Patrick Wilson did confirm that Ocean Master will return for Aquaman 2.
No, by Ocean Masters, he's referencing himself.
Yes.
Oh,
He's
because
talking about his character.
when I think of the Ocean Master, I think of the Crab King. Because to me, he's the man that should have been Ocean Master.
Crab King hat or shirt, totally sell out. I promise you.
They would.
Action figure, kids would be clamoring
They
for more
would.
Crab King merch.
is 2019 the year of crab?
Did he survive?
I think it was. We unintentionally Arizona Circle because we had our Crab King in our sketch, which kind of bothered. Well, because that sketch got written, before in October, I think, before the movie came out in December or whatever, and I was a little bit bummed because I thought, I hope people don't think that the crab thing is an Aquaman thing, because I thought the Crab King thing was good. But luckily, we didn't have that many comparisons because no one's watching the show.
Oh.
But yeah, Crab King's the best part of that movie.
Did he live?
No, didn't he get shot down in cold blood?
I thought he lost a pincer.
Oh, maybe he did.
I
yeah.
thought that's what happened to him. He lost a
So
pincer.
he can
Yeah.
come back with like a hook or something?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and you know what? Willem Dafoe in Aquaman, but then in Lighthouse, he gives his whole lobster speech.
Is Lighthouse good? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's not like one of my favorites of the year. Knives Out is one of the best movies of this year, guys. We'll talk about it a little more.
We'll get to that one in a
We'll get to
couple
that
weeks.
later.
Yeah, we went and saw Knives Out. Was that last night? No, the night.
Yeah,
I
2
can't even
nights ago.
remember. Great movie though, and we'll talk about it more soon. But yeah, I'm glad. I know everyone's glad Ocean Master is back. Hopefully, the Crab King can return. Aquaman is still the DC EU's highest-grossing film, so it'll be interesting to see what James Wan does. I guess Patrick Wilson did say that he's pushing his concepts even further and crazier than in Aquaman, which
That's
was a pretty
great.
fucking wild movie.
Yeah, but make it wild. Like, send him to fucking Neptune.
Yeah, embrace
to fight on an ocean planet. or
Exactly.
something. Yeah.
That's actually one of the things I really liked about Aquaman was just how like every 10 minutes they were in a different movie doing
Yeah.
something else. So embrace that craziness, I think.
Well,
It is stupid, but
There's an amazing point in Aquaman where he and Patrick Wilson are fighting, but like the thing is, you'll fight on a platform, but you don't want to fall into the lava. And I'm like, they're in water.
they can't fall.
You can't fall off the platform. This doesn't make any sense. But I was still in for it. Here's a question: do you think Patrick Wilson will align forces? Will his character align forces with Aquaman? In the sequel,
they'd be
because
like,
they will just
team
follow
up?
the template of Thor. Do you think they'll team up for that?
If they were smart, they would skip Thor 2, or at least do that in like 10 minutes at the beginning of Aquaman 2.
Yeah,
and
they
then
skip ahead.
Get to the Ragnarok part.
Maybe Thor and Patrick Wilson, who we keep calling that because I have no idea what his character's name
Ocean
is.
Master.
He wasn't though.
He wasn't-
He was
he
trying
wanted
to
to
be.
be.
No,
he never
he
achieved
declared himself Ocean Master.
A lot of people did in that movie.
I was gonna
Or
say-
they said that someone else couldn't be.
The crab standing in his way prevented him. If he had defeated the Crab King,
Which
then
he could
yes,
not.
then yes, he would have been able to call himself.
Let the
Ocean
record
Master.
show he could not defeat the Crab King.
He was unable to do so, and thus never truly became the Ocean Master.
There's a current petition from some of Johnny Depp's hardcore fans. They don't want Amber Heard to be allowed to return
Heard about that.
for the movie.
All right. I don't use the word hero every day.
I mean, the thing
But
is,
thanks,
like,
Depp fans.
she was fine.
Yeah, she was serviceable.
She could return. She could not. I'm kind of indifferent.
I remember their relationship. I've only saw the movie the once, but I remember their relationship seeming very forced. Like the romance didn't exist, but clearly they were reading lines that thought there was a romance relationship there.
I also was like, are they sisters? Like, I was kept waiting for the reveal that's like they're siblings, which is why they're not having sex. I think that Aquaman 2 is a perfect candidate for the classic 90s movie trope of doing a sequel and recasting most of those other parts. Like where not everyone comes back for some reason. Like
It's a Mortal Kombat, too.
It's Willem Dafoe's
Annihilation.
character, except it's not him.
Oh, no.
They couldn't get Jango Fett back. Nicole Kidman didn't want to return. Like, so they recast. It'd be the perfect scenario.
You know who should totally show up in Aquaman and everyone would lose their minds because of the comedy of it is Kevin Costner. Because like Waterworld, Waterworld prepared him.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling
Aquaman.
Kevin Costner has no
he-
humor to him.
He can't because he played
Tin Cup?
he plays Spider-Man uncle, so he can't.
No, that's not
Spider-Man
gonna happen.
uncle.
She's confusing.
A different universe, but
Man of Steel.
Superman's dad.
oh yeah, he's Superman's dad.
Is that not what you were referencing?
He's Uncle Ben.
I couldn't remember. I knew he died, and he was important to some. Oh, he died in the cyclone or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
he went back to save the dog, and the dog is like, "I'm out." Again, he didn't die. He just got put up on the top of that mountain.
Yeah, but yeah. So never mind. He can
right.
actually be an Aquaman too.
So other DC comic film news this week. Warner Brothers announced a release date and gave us a really sweet poster of Black Adam. Everyone's favorite character.
Looks like
Black Adam.
Dave Bautista. Doesn't it?
It actually does kind of.
So, but is this a sequel to Shazam?
No.
This is different than
If
Shazam.
you were gonna have The Rock in his first superhero movie, would you cast him next to somebody else?
No,
Supposed to be The Rock.
This is The Rock.
Oh.
But he was
It does-
casting this forever ago.
Yeah, they've been working on making this movie.
He
for a
was
while.
I don't know
casting
anything
this
about
when they were like ramping up their whole DC.
I mean, it was
EU
before
type thing.
Shazam.
It was,
The Rock
it was way before
gonna be-
Shazam, but
Yeah, that's interesting.
it's so weird because he's. I mean, I guess The Rock is The Rock first, and then whatever character he plays second.
Exactly.
But it's still weird because he's the villain for.
Eventually,
Shazam.
he's the villain for Shazam.
It'd be like if you just made a movie about the Joker, and who would do that?
Maybe that's what got this greenlit all of a sudden. It's a possibility.
Fast-tracked. They're like, this has the texture and depth of. Everyone's always going. When I think DC villains, I go the Joker, Black Adam, and those are the two.
Sorry, I was gonna say. I feel like The Rock is probably like he's so bored of being the like good guy hero at this point. Maybe he's like, yeah, somebody wants me to be the villain. Like, sure.
I guess. I don't know. So Black Adam was some sort of corrupted ancient Egyptian predecessor to Captain Marvel, which is what Shazam used to be. So he's like Shazam in ancient Egypt, who fights his way to modern times to challenge Shazam and Shazam family.
Yeah,
I don't know.
go
I
on.
don't really get it at all. I like The Rock a lot. I thought Shazam was pretty good. I know you guys finally saw Shazam and didn't quite dig it as
Thought
much.
it was okay. It got a little overhyped, I think.
I thought,
maybe.
yeah, maybe that's it. I thought it was fine, like
Yeah.
good, but I didn't walk away being like that was amazing. You know what? Maybe I'll watch it soon. I still never saw Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Good movie.
Kevin Costner's in
I
it.
watched
He
it.
plays Uncle Ben.
But yeah, so Warner announced this movie is going to be coming out on December 22nd, 2021. I think that late December release date has done really well for The Rock for Jumanji and did really well for them for Aquaman. So it seems like something they're probably going to stake out for the rest of forever. I don't know, we'll be getting either The Rock or some random DC movie on late December. But yeah, I believe, they're hoping The Rock can sell this, maybe anti-hero, maybe not quite a villain, I'm guessing an anti-hero, to people enough to build up to this huge cinematic, Infinity War style battle between Shazam and Black Adam.
Yeah. It'll definitely be the same scale of that.
Wow.
I would just want to see The Rock in his actual body next to Zachary Levi in his fake bodysuit body.
What if they give The Rock a bodysuit though, and he's just gargantuan?
But The Rock is the size of Zachary Levi in a bodysuit.
Yeah, Zachary Levi is a fairly large dude, though. Like we saw
like
him once
tall,
at that
right?
event,
Yeah.
and he looked pretty big.
Yeah, he doesn't have.
I mean,
like,
obviously, yes, he doesn't
21-inch arms. and
doesn't have
stuff.
those, but he was still a pretty big guy.
I just think it's funny because The Rock is that big, and at some point in the movie they should fight, and then he should rip off the bodysuit and be like,
But yeah, so the director is the same. He did movies Orphan and Unknown and the upcoming Jungle Cruise.
Whoa.
So maybe he's a good friend of The Rock's now after the Jungle Cruise job.
The Orphan, the movie about the
little
Eastern
person
European
disguised
girl.
as a child.
So DC's going all in with these horror guys, thinking they can direct superhero movies.
Maybe they're being referred to each other. Maybe James Wan would take meetings with that guy and be like, hey, you need to talk to DC guys. They're looking for people.
Or maybe they got an early look at that Jungle Cruise and they're like, this is Black Adam material.
I mean, I do think we live in a world, wait, hold for it, where Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson comes into a meeting and says, oh, I really enjoyed working with this guy, and then he's hired the next day. Like,
I mean, I believe it.
So
he's certainly one of the most bankable people that exist for anything he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so last story of the week, I'll leave Shazam rolling, is something I find interesting and kind of scary. Honestly, James Dean, back from the grave. In case you don't know, James Dean was kind of a heartthrob. Died in 1955 at 24 years old in a car crash. Kind of since then become a big cultural icon for teen angst, mostly because of Rebel Without a Cause and East of Eden.
Giant. Don't forget about Giant.
I never saw Giant. I forget about Giant. Anyway, there's
I just thought it was funny. You were like, I'll name 2 of his films.
2 of the 3. He did a bunch of TV and stuff. Anyway, there's a Vietnam-era action drama called Finding Jack, who announced that they cast James Dean in their film.
Nice job.
And will be using CG and facial replacement, motion capture and archival footage, apparently, to bring James Dean back to life in this Vietnam movie. It's such a weird concept to me because I guess they've sort of done this recently. Disney has, at least, with Carrie Fisher. Who's the guy that was the Grand Moff?
Moff Tarkin?
Yeah, Peter Cushing. But it's something that could happen more and more, and I think it's also similar to like the de-aging tech that we've got. There's all these things that essentially are giving us performances from actors that couldn't possibly exist in modern times because of people age and they die.
This is a new situation because stuff like the Peter Cushing and Carrie Fisher felt like sort of necessity of these existing properties and wanting to reprise characters.
There's a more, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
I guess that.
Yeah, there's like
exist.
a purpose for it. This feels like a little bit of a stunt.
Yeah.
As it's like you could have anyone cast in this film, but you're choosing to like bring this actor back from the dead. It's like how like I forget which Bruce Lee film it is, but the Bruce Lee film that shows like actual footage from his funeral in it.
Oh.
And
Tower Game of Death.
And it's like I don't know if there was I don't know if there was any way around that, but clearly the filmmaker felt like, oh God, to finish this movie, like Bruce probably would have wanted, we gotta show him in his casket. It's like it's weird. Like it's a really weird line to be toying with.
Mm-hmm. There's this quote that I think is really stupid and funny from Anton Ernst, one of the 2 directors on this film. We searched high and low for the perfect character to portray the role of Rogan, which has some extreme, complex character arcs. And after months of research, we decided on James Dean.
No. After 5 minutes of going, if we do this, some film podcast with no oversight from Warner Brothers will report on it, which will be more traction than we'd ever get for this movie based off its own merit, then that would be amazing for us, and we don't have to pay a marketing team a single penny for it.
James, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Is I don't think this movie exists. I think they did this as a publicity stunt to try and get financing for their film. Mm-hmm. They say that it's supposed to release on Veterans Day of 2020, and it hasn't shot yet.
Okay.
So that one is, I think, impossible.
That's a quick turnaround.
Like, unless you did it Funhaus style and put a JPEG of James Dean that doesn't even rotate when someone turns. Mm-hmm. So I think this was a publicity stunt by some relatively clever people to try and get a film financed.
Mm-hmm. The problem is, for every person who goes, this is the stupidest thing in the world, there's someone else that goes, oh yeah. And that person has access to $100 million, and they go, what if? And then they start researching the concept of doing it, and then they do it.
Yeah, who do you bring back?
Kevin Spacey.
I was seeing
Bring him back from the dead.
there were a lot of actors that were like sounding off and tweeting about this and stuff that were pretty like displeased with this direction, which I get because like you think about your own legacy and what could eventually happen with you if this becomes commonplace.
Yeah, I would say if you're an actor, make sure your will says something about not letting people do this to you.
There's also the whole aspect of you have this script and the only person you think can play the main role is James Dean. You're probably a shitty writer.
Yeah.
It's probably not a very good script.
I would imagine if this is your idea, you probably have no concept of what the craft of acting really is. You know, the art of acting, that you're thinking just anybody can do it and slap James Dean's face on it. That's acting. Like I don't know, it's all a stupid stunt. It's kind of blasphemous, really.
We still have Shazam running. That's not his body. If they cast,
is that the same thing?
If they had only said the only person we can have here is a 255-pound gorilla playing this role, we wouldn't have Zachary Levi adding his charm to the role, which I think he did really well. So, you know, just saying.
I do think this just brings up interesting concepts about the power of technology in film. 'Cause, you know, we recently had Gemini Man, where Will Smith got to fight younger Will Smith, and you know, is that a thing anymore where actors, you know, hit 60 or whatever, and we think they're, you know, boring and old and ugly, but if we de-age them a little bit, you know, at that, you know, Bad Boys 5, that's a prequel with Will Smith looking like he's 24 again, will do better than the Bad Boys that we're going to get next year. I don't know.
Let's get into the whole socioeconomic state of things. Listen, we live in a society, where we have teleportation machines in the form of Amazon.com same-day delivery, right? We have all the world's knowledge in our pocket, magic touchscreen devices, everything. We can interact with anyone, learn anything, do anything. We can do all this stuff, but we're still dying. Human beings are still dying, so we're desperately clinging on, especially older generations who've seen this change. They're like, well, we shouldn't have to die. We have to live forever, which is why old people don't sell their houses, even though they're probably going to fall down the stairs. You know, like they don't move into condos and then sell it off to the younger generation, and why people like Will Smith, who maybe they've aged out a little bit, refuse to give up the younger role to a younger man.
I mean, he'll be 80 and they'll have young Will Smith and you know, the Fresh Prince too.
Yeah, I do feel like there's a weird misconnection of like, so you know, when you're in your 20s, you want to watch people who are young and in their 20s, right? And if that's the audience that's going to the movies and spending money, I don't think that if I was like 20 years old now, I would see like, who's this cool young guy in this movie? Will Smith? Yeah, I'd be like, oh, who's that? Like, he's my new favorite. Like, I don't think like the computer digital version of young Will Smith would soon just become my favorite actor. I'd be like, this is weird. I'm gonna go watch whoever this 25-year-old guy. Like, I don't know.
Woody Harrelson.
But you guys are a fan of who's the digital pop star?
Oh, Hatsune Miku.
Yeah.
Well, I do
completely fabricated, right?
I do think it's an interesting tool to have to tell stories. Like Benjamin Button is the prime example. Sure. I don't think it's a immaculate movie, but it's a good example of like where this de-aging technology really helped them tell a story that you really couldn't have tell except with excellent practical makeup. You have to be, you know, top tier. So like it does help you tell interesting stories, interesting ways, but it is weird.
Also, I don't listen to Hatsune Miku. I think the concept of it is cool, but I don't.
You're not jamming out.
Yeah, I'm kind of the
enjoy
same way.
Never been to a concert, so.
I like the idea of a Vocaloid pop star. I think more than I like listening to the music.
Yeah.
So James, your favorite character in all of the Marvel universe, Moon Knight, has some news this week. His Disney Plus show got a showrunner, and Jeremy Slater, the guy best known recently for developing Umbrella Academy for Netflix, but also wrote Death Note for Netflix and Fantastic, the really bad Fantastic Four movie. No, I didn't see it. People said it was bad. The Josh Trank one recently.
The new one? Ooh.
So You've got a guy with dodgy credits writing your favorite character.
Listen, there's nothing, you can't do anything to Moon Knight that Moon Knight can't handle. He's crazy.
He does have dissociative identity disorder.
White. That's why he wears white, Dan, so that way we can see him coming. All right? So if you ask me what I think Moon Knight would want, he would want someone completely unprepared for Moon Knight to make Moon Knight. And I don't even know what that means. I don't know if this is the guy, but I think Moon Knight would want it that way. You know?
Okay.
So I think this is perfectly in line with what Moon Knight needs.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you.
That's the Moonlight update.
It just Sonic looks a little weird when he's sitting in the car. I think it's a better still than it is in motion.
Same. So that's all we have time for this week. We actually don't have time to get into the Selena reboot. We'll have to save that for another week.
Selena's.
Thanks again to Muggsy and Columbia College for sponsoring the show this week. We really appreciate it. I guess in the comments, if you didn't like Sonic or the new Sonic redesign, let us know. I don't really care if you actually liked it because everyone else seems to.
Hard stance.
Yeah, hard stance. Mm-hmm. And tell us what your favorite Maclunkey is.
Yeah, get the video with Maclunkey like.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks for coming around.
Bye. You know what we should do? We should make the title, Sonic's got a new look, but then a week later change it to Maclunkey. And then our title is now a Maclunkey. I like Lin-Manuel Miranda, but he is literally described as Sam Elliott in the book. Like, it's everything minus the part where he goes, the Mephellas, they look like this, and it's Sam Elliott as Lee Scoresby.
I think if he had been interested, getting Sam Elliott,